There comes a moment in every man's life when the world seems to turn against him, when those he trusted begin to circle like vultures, waiting for him to crack. When voices rise in accusation, when fingers point in blame, when the very air around him becomes thick with hostility and manipulation. In that moment, you discover something profound about human nature. Most people cannot tolerate calmness in others because it exposes the chaos within themselves. You stand in the center of their storm, and your stillness becomes their mirror. They see in your composure what they lack in themselves, and this revelation drives them to madness. They will push harder, speak louder, strike deeper, all in a desperate attempt to drag you down into their emotional pit. But this is precisely when you must remember the ancient wisdom that has echoed through centuries. True strength is not found in reaction, but in the profound absence of it. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He was not speaking as a philosopher in an ivory tower, but as a man who ruled an empire while facing betrayal, war, and loss. He knew that the greatest battles are fought not on distant battlefields, but in the quiet chambers of the soul. When someone attempts to break you, they are not attacking your actions or your words. They are assaulting your inner citadel, sacred fortress of the mind where your true self resides, untouchable and eternal. The Stoics called this place the hegemonikon, the ruling faculty of consciousness that remains free even when the body is bound, even when circumstances conspire against you, even when those closest to you turn their backs. This citadel is not built of stone or steel, but of something far more durable, the unshakable knowledge that you're worth. Your peace and your power come from within. No external force can breach these walls unless you open the gates yourself. And yet, how many men surrendered this fortress at the first sign of conflict? The first raised voice, the first hint of disapproval? You must understand why they do this to you. When you remain calm in the face of their chaos, you become a living contradiction to their worldview. They have spent their lives believing that external circumstances determine internal states, that peace is only possible when everything goes according to plan. Your calmness in their storm shatters this illusion, and they cannot bear the cognitive dissonance. They need you to react because your reaction validates their way of being. It confirms their belief that emotions must be expressed, that feelings must be followed, that peace is fragile and temporary. But when you remain still, when you breathe deeply while they hyperventilate, when you speak softly while they shout, you reveal a deeper truth, that suffering is optional, that peace is a choice, and that true power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering oneself. Seneca faced this same challenge in the courts of Rome, where political intrigue and personal betrayal were as common as sunrise. He learned that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, that each attack upon your character is actually an opportunity to forge something stronger within yourself. The fire that others hope will consume you becomes the flame that tempers your spirit. But calmness is not passivity. This is where many men fail to understand the Stoic path. They mistake equanimity for weakness, stillness for surrender. True calmness is the eye of the hurricane, perfectly still, yet surrounded by tremendous power. It is the calmness of the mountain that watches storms pass without being moved. The calmness of the ocean depths that remain undisturbed by surface turbulence. When someone attacks you with words designed to wound, with accusations meant to destabilize, with manipulations crafted to control, they are presenting you with a gift disguised as a curse. They are offering you the opportunity to practice what the Stoics called ataraxion, perturbedness of mind. Provocation, a chance to strengthen your inner discipline. You do not need to defend yourself against every accusation, respond to every insult, or justify your actions to those who have already decided to misunderstand you. The wise man knows that silence is often the most devastating response. The silence of defeat, but the silence of supreme confidence. Not the silence of having nothing to say, but the silence of knowing that some conversations are beneath you. Epictetus. who lived as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest teachers, understood this principle intimately. He taught that no one can hurt you without your permission. This was not philosophical theory. For him, it was lived reality. Chained in body but free in spirit, he discovered that the only true prison is the one we build in our own minds. When others try to break you, they are unconsciously asking you to join them in their prison. They want you to become a fellow inmate in the jail of reactive living, where every external event determines your internal state. But you have the key to walk out of that prison anytime you choose. The key is understanding that your thoughts, your emotions, and your responses belong to you alone. This is why your calmness intimidates them. It reminds them of their own capacity for peace that they have abandoned. It shows them a path they could take but are too afraid to walk. Your stillness and their chaos is a silent rebuke to their way of living. It's that they cannot tolerate the comparison. But here is what you must remember. Their attack is not really about you. It is about their own pain, their own fear, their own inadequacy. Hurt people, and their attempt to wound you is actually their cry for the very peace they see in you, but believe they cannot attain. Understanding this transforms everything. You are no longer the victim of their aggression. You become the witness to their suffering. This shift in perspective is the beginning of true Stoic mastery. When you can look upon those who attack you with compassion rather than contempt, when you can see their provocations as expressions of their own inner turmoil rather than reflections of your worth, you have transcended the battlefield entirely. You are no longer playing their game by their rules. The Stoics taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about events. When someone betrays you, the betrayal is simply a thing that happened in the external world. But your judgment that this betrayal means you are unlovable, unworthy, or powerless, that judgment is what creates your suffering. And that judgment is entirely within your control. Marcus Aurelius faced this reality daily as emperor. Trusted advisors plotted against him, allies abandoned him, enemies surrounded him, yet he wrote, "How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does, but only to what he does himself." He understood that focusing on others' actions was a prescription for misery, while focusing on his own responses was the path to peace. This is the sacred pause, that moment between stimulus and response, where freedom lives. In that pause, you choose who you are going to be. Will you be the man who reacts from his wounds, or the man who responds from his wisdom? Will you be the man who allows others to determine his emotional state, or the man who remains sovereign over his own inner kingdom? The pause is where power lives, not the power to control others. That is an illusion that leads only to frustration. But the power to control yourself, to choose your thoughts, to direct your attention, to decide what deserves your energy and what does not. This is the only power that is truly yours, and it is the only power you need. When you master this pause, something remarkable happens. The chaos around you begins to still, not because external circumstances change, but because you are no longer feeding the chaos with your reactions. You become like a stone thrown into a turbulent river. The water may rage around you, but you remain unmoved, and eventually, even the river flows around you with less resistance. People will test this stillness. They will push harder, speak more harshly, escalate their attempts to break your composure. This is not a sign that you are failing, it is a sign that you are succeeding. Their increasing desperation to provoke you reveals their growing awareness of your strength. They sense that they are losing their power over you. This terrifies them. But you must not mistake your calmness for superiority or use your composure as a weapon of passive aggression. True Stoic calmness comes from a place of deep humility, the recognition that you, like all humans, are imperfect and struggling. Your peace is not a judgment upon others, but a gift you give yourself. And by extension, the world Seneca reminds us that anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. When others try to fill you with their anger, their resentment, their chaos, you have the choice to refuse the delivery. You can remain empty of their poison and full of your own peace. This is not about becoming cold or detached from life. The Stoic is not emotionless, he is emotionally intelligent, feels deeply, but is not controlled by his feelings. He loves fully, but is not destroyed by loss, cares profoundly, but is not dependent on outcomes. This is the paradox of Stoic strength. The more you let go, the more you possess. The less you need from others, the more you can give. The calmer you become, the more powerful you are in your stillness. You become a refuge for others, even for those who attack you. Your calmness creates a space where truth can emerge, where healing can begin, where wisdom can be heard above the noise of reactive emotion. You become not the enemy they thought they were fighting, but the very peace they have been seeking all along. This is why the path of Stoic mastery is ultimately a path of service. Your calmness serves not just yourself, but everyone around you. It breaks the cycle of reaction and counter-reaction that keeps humanity trapped in endless conflict. It models a different way of being, one based on wisdom rather than impulse, on strength rather than force, on love rather than fear. But the journey to this mastery is not without its challenges. There will be moments when the attacks feel too personal, too unfair, too overwhelming. There will be times when your resolve wavers, when your peace feels fragile, when your composure threatens to crack. In these moments, remember that you are not walking this path alone. Marcus Aurelius faced sleepless nights wondering if his reign would survive the next betrayal. Seneca endured exile and false accusations. Epictetus lived with the constant reminder of his physical chains. Yet each of them found in their darkest moments the seeds of their greatest wisdom. Your struggles are not obstacles to your growth. They are the very ground in which your strength takes root. The man who tries to break you is unconsciously asking you to become more than you are. He is presenting you with the raw materials of mastery, challenge, conflict, and the opportunity to transcend both. Without pressure, carbon remains carbon. With pressure and heat, it becomes diamond. Without opposition, your calmness remains theoretical. As real attacks upon your peace, it becomes unshakable. This is the alchemy of Stoic transformation, turning the lead of others, aggression into the gold of your own wisdom. Every insult becomes a lesson in non-attachment. Every betrayal becomes a teaching in self-reliance. Every attempt to break you becomes an opportunity to discover what cannot be broken within you. And what is that unbreakable core? It is your capacity to choose, moment by moment, who you are going to be. It is your ability to find meaning in suffering, purpose in pain, growth in opposition. It is the recognition that you are not your circumstances, your reputation, your possessions, or even your relationships. You are the consciousness that observes all of these things, and consciousness itself cannot be destroyed. When you touch this truth, really touch it. Their attacks begin to feel like waves against a lighthouse, powerful, perhaps, but ultimately insignificant to the structure they strike. The lighthouse does not fight the waves or curse the storm. It simply continues to shine, knowing that its purpose is not to control the sea, but to provide guidance through it. Your calmness becomes that lighthouse. In a world driven mad by reactivity, your stillness becomes a beacon that others can navigate by. They may not understand it at first. They may even resent it. But deep in their hearts, they recognize it as something they have been seeking all their lives. The peace that surpasses understanding, strength that needs no validation, the love that requires no return. This is why they cannot break you. Not because you are harder than they are, but because you are more fluid. Not because you feel less, but because you understand your feelings differently. Not because you care less about the outcome, but because you care more about the process. You have learned the difference between what happens to you and what you make it mean. And in that difference lies your freedom. As you walk this path of Stoic mastery, you'll discover that the attacks upon you become less frequent, not because others have changed, but because you no longer emanate the energy of someone who can be broken. Your presence itself becomes a deterrent to chaos, a calming influence that soothes the savage impulses of those around you. But even when the attacks continue, even when others persist in their attempts to destabilize you, you find that you can watch it all with a kind of benevolent detachment. You see the drama of human interaction, as Marcus Aurelius did, like actors playing their parts on a stage. each convinced that their role is the most important, none seeing the larger play of which they are all part. From this perspective, you can feel compassion even for those who seek to harm you. You see that they are trapped in patterns of thinking and feeling that create more suffering for themselves than for anyone else. Your refusal to join them in their drama is not cruel, it is the kindest thing you can do. It offers them a glimpse of another way of being. This is the ultimate victory of the Stoic, not defeating his enemies, but transforming them through the power of his example. Not winning arguments, but rendering them unnecessary. Not proving his strength through force, but demonstrating it through restraint. The man who cannot be broken becomes the man who heals by his very presence. But remember, this mastery is not a destination you reach and then inhabit forever. It is a practice you return to moment by moment, choice by choice, breath by breath. Every day will bring new tests, new provocations, new opportunities to choose calm over chaos, wisdom over reaction, love over fear. Some days you will pass these tests easily, your calmness as natural as breathing. Other days you will struggle, your peace feeling hard-won and fragile. Both experiences are part of the path. The Stoic is not the man who never struggles, but the man who never stops returning to his principles when he does. In the end, the greatest gift you give yourself through this practice is not the approval of others or the absence of conflict. It is the deep, abiding knowledge that no matter what storms may come, no matter what attacks may be launched against you, no matter what chaos may swirl around you, there is something within you that remains untouchable, unchanging, and eternally at peace. This is your true inheritance as a man, not what others give you or take from you, but what you create within yourself through daily practice of these ancient principles. This is your legacy, not the monuments others might build to. Your memory, but the moments of calmness you maintain when maintaining them requires everything you have. When the world tries to break you, remember that you are not made of the same fragile material as your circumstances. You are forged from something stronger, the capacity to choose, power to endure, the wisdom to distinguish between what is yours to control and what is not. In that choosing, that enduring, and that wisdom, you find not just survival, but transformation. Not just resistance to breaking, but the transcendence that makes breaking irrelevant. We're the heir to Marcus Aurelius, the student of Seneca. The inheritor of Epictetus. Their words live in you, their strength flows through you, their peace is your birthright. The chaos around you is temporary. The calmness within you is eternal. Choose it, practice it, embody it, and discover what it truly means to be unbreakable, not because nothing can touch you, but because you have learned to remain yourself, no matter what tries to change you. This is Stoic mastery. This is your path. This is who you have always been beneath the noise, beyond the drama, deeper than any force that would seek to diminish you. The man who cannot be broken was never the man who faced no pressure. He was the man who found in that pressure the raw material of his own becoming.